Today on Strategy Simplified, we have another installment of our new coach interview series. In these conversations, you'll learn more about their background, journey to the firms, what they've been up to post-MBB, and their case coaching philosophy. Next on the hot seat is Nare Israelyan, an ex-BCGer who's now breaking into Hollywood. And stay tuned after the interview for After Office Hours, where today we answer a listener question about how to prepare for BCG digital assessments. I hope you enjoy the discussion. We're so excited today to have with us one of our coaches here at Management Consulted, Nare Israelyan. Nare, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
So you and I have worked together before, but I'm excited to hear more about your journey. Before we get there, would love to learn a little bit more about who you are today, what you love. So I understand that you're a working actor and stunt woman. Is that right? How did you get there and how's it going?
So yeah, actually getting into acting was a weird turn of events. I did not even expect it myself, but after I left BCG, I was starting a real estate financing startup, spending a lot of time in Excel still, and I missed the human interaction piece of things. And a friend who was also in consulting at the time recommended taking an improv class. Did so. 2 weeks in, I forgot how much I loved performing. And then I took a theater class, fell in love. 2 weeks in, I was so head over heels that I closed up shop on my startup. And I asked myself a question. If I spent 3 years, lost all my money, worked my butt off and, failed at the startup, would I regret it? Because, obviously startups, you can fail. Would I regret it? Yes. Since I was doing it more for the money and the opportunity, if I spent 3 years, lost all my money, worked my butt off and failed at acting, would I regret it? And it was just a gut decision that no, I would not. And that was sort of the greatest moment of clarity I had. I jumped head first. I was in 3 or 4 classes at a time, constantly working, constantly going. And yeah, 3 years was actually in the middle of the pandemic in 2020. And, I still ask myself that question in that time. And, there is no way I would regret it, especially the way I've grown as a person, as a human. In all regards, it's been the greatest journey, and I really don't regret it now. How it's going, I will, I guess, kind of highlight reel right now. I just finished filming an HBO pilot in December. It's an HBO comedy pilot. I'm really excited for that. We will hopefully go to series, and then you guys get to see me on HBO. It's all part of the business to see, the green light or not. It's almost like a proof of concept in a way. So it's still very business oriented. On the modeling end of things, I just shot a Banana Republic campaign at the beginning of the year. So that should be coming out early spring. Excited for that. So hopefully you guys can see me there too. On the stunt end of things, I have doubled on American Horror Story. So more focused on kind of being action-y, integrating that into my acting. But that's sort of just where things are right now. I don't know if anyone expected me to move or move this quickly in the industry, but it's kind of the way I saw it was, you go to school for 4 years and I had all these internships and I worked really hard and I built up to my offer at BCG. And so whenever I was going through this process, I just kind of saw it as, you're back in school. Your first year, you're going to have an internship. You're going to do a small little short film. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. It's constantly going to build until you get to a bigger thing, right? Like an HBO could be my BCG, for example. And it's still the same process, no matter what industry you're in. You have to put in hard work. You have to be dedicated. You have to take risks, believe in yourself. Because I walked into freshman year, fall quarter, and I was like, I want to be a management consultant. And my teacher told me that nobody from UCLA really went into consulting. So it's kind of always been, the odds are always stacked against you. But I think if you work hard, believe in yourself, and constantly dedicate yourself, opportunities are really possible no matter what you're doing.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. Let's keep on that train of thought. You come in as a freshman, you are interested for some reason in management consulting.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of undergrad listeners, and they would
Mm-hmm.
love to have the same pathway that you did.
Mm-hmm.
So what was that path like for you?
I will start that off by saying I don't think there is a right path. And I was definitely somebody who thought there is one path. And mine took twists and turns. And, just before consulting, even I was always a kid who did a bunch of different things. The reason I was interested is because I was a 5-sport athlete, and I was senior class president, and I got straight A's, and I was a kid who always did a ton of stuff. And so I thought consulting was really interesting because I could be creative, solve business problems, and always constantly change my environment. And so that's why I was initially interested in it. My path from saying I was interested in consulting to when I got my offer, I would preface this by saying I was never accepted into any of the consulting clubs, never part of, undergrad business society, wasn't part of it, didn't get accepted to that, or, I was part of the fellowship, but was general business, not consulting specific. So my path was just, I did intern a lot. I interned at a startup doing marketing my sophomore year. Interned at Morgan Stanley Wealth Management. I spent 2 years with Victoria's Secret throwing parties around LA. That was super fun. I spent a year working in brand strategy consulting, which is interesting because I was almost like a partial full-time employee during my junior year. So I got a lot of great experience there. Kind of got a taste for working in a team in a consulting environment, even though it was in branding. The summer before my senior year, I interned at the NFL in consumer products in New York. And that was one of the best experiences of my life. And so all of my different internships, I think, gave me different experiences. And I was trying for consulting. I'll be honest with you. I was trying for consulting. Didn't really work out. UCLA wasn't really a big school for consulting at the time. It's a very reputable school. It was just not really known for consulting. And so the opportunities weren't, just all over the place anyways. It was still a very new thing at UCLA. So, I recruited into the wrong segment of another firm and advisory instead of consulting, turned that offer down. So I took a lot of twists and turns along the way, always knowing what my end goal was. But if I had a really great opportunity, I took it. And I'm very happy for the path that I did have, because I think it presented me as a interesting candidate when it came to full-time recruiting compared to, the sea of people who might have just been doing what everyone else was doing, because I think that almost makes it harder to stand out if you take the traditional path. I just got lucky that the traditional path just did not work for me, I guess.
Well, it did eventually, right? And I hear a lot of those themes continue to come up that you already previewed: hard work, dedication, trying your best at whatever you do, kind of always staying active, interested. And so, you had your own individual path and journey. And now you, in addition to the plethora of things that you do professionally, you are a coach with us here at Management Consulted. And you work with folks at all different levels who are interested in all different firms, not just prospective BCG candidates. So when you look across your journey, what you learned at BCG, coaching across the board, what do you think are a couple of the top traits or qualities that need to be present for recruiting at any firm?
So top traits and qualities. I think some are, some you can teach. I think some are inherent in you. I think the one that, I think anyone who is interested in consulting, one, you have to be ambitious and you have to be a hard worker, of course. I think that is just goes to be said about, even in the case interview process. Some people do walk in and they're like, I just watched the YouTube video yesterday and I aced the interview. But I would say that's less common than traditionally. Most people work really hard. And I personally know which candidates are putting in a lot of work. And personally, I think as coaches, we sometimes even favor them because we see the hard work that they're putting in. And it's so rewarding when I get that email afterwards telling me that hey, I got an offer, because it feels really good to help somebody who's put in the work and then they make their dreams come true. And to be part of that process is fantastic. I think apart from, just having hard work, I think, another really important quality is ability to perform under pressure. I think especially in the interview, no matter how much you practice, you need to put yourself in positions where you are under pressure, whether that's in other interview environments that you're going through, getting outside your comfort zone, because you are going to be in an intimidating environment. And I think, having a lot of internships throughout my career helped me because I was very comfortable interviewing at that point. And because I was able to let my personality come out. And I do think that was a differentiating factor because of course you can ace the case interview, but I want to also root for you as a human being. And I think that, being able to show your personality, and you don't have to people please in any way and try to say the right thing, but allowing yourself to be comfortable enough in the room, and that also comes back to work, right? You have to be confident in your work. You have to be confident that you're going to be good with the case interview, no matter what is thrown at you, no matter what questions thrown at you behaviorally, case interview, whatever, you're prepared for it. And you've already practiced it. So you have to be comfortable in the room with whatever's going to go on. And you have to feel, you have to sometimes take a risk and show your personality. You can even make a joke, during the interview, whatever. But I think, having the courage to let your personality come out, really shine through is a differentiating quality that helps, differentiate from good caser to, somebody that we want to work with, because we know you as a human being now as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, think about the applicability of, what Nare said, just that everybody is not looking for the perfect interviewee, the perfect caser, but can you bring that self-confidence and that executive presence into the boardroom, in front of a senior level executive? Are you going to be able to also maintain that personality, that clarity of thought, the ability to problem solve in the moment or do some mental math or, all these different little challenges that can be thrown at you.
Yeah. And I actually find that in the, whenever, candidates come to me and they say, oh, I have a math problem. Whenever we case, I stop them halfway through and I'm like, I don't think you have a math problem. I think you have a nervousness problem because, and you probably notice it too, if the word problem is a little bit tricky, if you get lost, if you can't navigate and you don't know how to ask the right questions, or how to move through it, you kind of get flustered. And I notice candidates aren't hearing me correctly, maybe. And I think what happens is we get so nervous that the voices in our head get so loud and the doubts in our head, to be honest with you, the doubts in your head get so loud, you can't hear your interviewer and you're not really present. So I think that throws more candidates than I think anything else in the case interview process.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. I can't agree with you more. I could not agree with you more. So some great thoughts there, generally speaking, across the board, looking across firms. Now, when you think about BCG specifically, what kind of person does BCG look for?
I think, if I had to put a characteristic, I would say, smart and friendly, and fun, but is secretly a nerd. And nerd, not in a connotation of what you see on TV shows, like a geek or a dork, but, we can nerd out over a subject for hours. And it doesn't even have to be the same subject, but, typically they will nerd out over a certain, and I have subjects that I just nerd out. As an actor, I nerd out over everything, I'm still a nerd and, but everyone is generally very friendly, very nice, loves to have fun. And then they have that nerdy quality to them. And I think there's a certain cloth, and I truly do not know how they, weed for this, throughout all the candidates, because whether I met people, on the West Coast when I was casing, I've been to the East Coast, I've done recruiting out there. I've done, I've been out to different regions where I've met BCGers. We'll have exchange students come, or not exchange students, exchange consultants come, I guess, not exchange students, exchange consultants come. There is that certain thread that I'm there's there's a common cloth with everyone at BCG. And I think that stays that's just your quality as a human being. I'm honestly not sure how they sort for it, but they do a really good job with it.
No, I'm so glad that you pointed out one of these cultural elements that, doesn't necessarily have a spot on the score sheet, but it really helps define the type of human being, as you said, the type of person that BCG is looking for, getting in the door. So You spent some time at the firm. What was your favorite part of the job?
The traveling, for sure. That's my favorite part. I would say the traveling was definitely my favorite part about consulting. Obviously I'm somebody who likes to be on their toes, and I really like the aspect of always changing your environment. It keeps me on my toes. And, I know some people don't like the travel, but it makes me feel like I'm constantly hustling, and I like that.
I got you. I'm with you there. I burnt out at some point, but the travel's fun going all over the place.
You can use your airline miles and your hotel points to book a nice vacation, though.
You know what? I'm still living on points. So
there you go. So am I.
So, you spent some time at BCG. You ultimately decided to leave. Mm-hmm. What were some of those trigger points for you? What made you leave consulting? And then interested in a little bit more in kind of how you leverage those consulting skills into the startup that you went into after that.
Yeah, I would say that it's always a personal decision for everybody. For me, and it all depends, right? It doesn't have to be everyone's cup of tea, and every position does change sort of the roles and responsibilities that you do have. I found that for me, while I loved case interviews, while I loved the overall concept of consulting, I found myself to be more entrepreneurial and to find myself more motivated when I have something to chase after. And so for me, I think it was just that idea. And it wasn't, after BCG, I didn't really work for another company, in that sense of being a full-time employee. I liked being more entrepreneurial myself, and that's just my nature. And it was something that I'm happy I learned earlier on. And I think, just in terms of the analyst position, I like working on a higher level. I like working more interpersonally between teams. For example, when I am a project leader for Strategy Sprint, I enjoy working with the different groups, thinking on a higher level, thinking of the storyline, able to sort of help them through. And of course, I know how to do the analysis. It's just, I'm definitely very extroverted, an auditory learner. And so I'm able to pick up on a lot of things very quickly. And I found myself shining more in that regard of like having a good business sense, business acumen, knowing exactly what's going on, being able to lead a team forward, but preferring to be more on the personal side of being able to understand people, how they work, sometimes even just reading the people, reading the room, understanding sort of the motivations and intentions behind things, and found myself excelling more in that type of position in general. And so it was just, I wasn't able to utilize that specific skill set for me. And that was just, unique to my situation. And I just made the choice that I didn't really want to go up the rungs of the ladder, considering I didn't want to go corporate. So I think I knew fairly early on. I still wanted to put in my time. I still found it to be a valuable experience moving forward. And I definitely don't regret my time there. I would say how it helped me. Obviously, as an actor, I don't really see a lot of my consulting skill sets being used. In my startup, I definitely did because I was an Excel whiz. I could, like in terms of pivot charts, and I grabbed data from here and here, and I was able to do a lot of research on my own, use my economics background, and be able to actually put it into practice with the Excel tools that I learned. And also, it was never like, oh, I can't do this. It was, I can figure this out, because that's literally what you do on the job. You don't know how to do something and then you figure it out. So I was already in that mindset. I would say right now how consulting helps me. I think it's overall helped me even as an artist, because I am in show business. I work with people on the business end all the time, to know how to communicate with my agents, my managers professionally, to understand what professionalism is, has actually gotten me ahead. That's something my modeling agent even told me, that, even my manager was, when she worked really hard for me, and she said, you've never missed a deadline. You've always gotten the tapes in on time. I'm a professional, no matter what's going on in my personal life, I will figure out a way to get my work done. I'll work hard. It's always a yes mentality. What do we need? How do I move my career forward? How do I niche? All of the stuff that you would consider in business, has helped me as an actor, and sort of, refine sort of those business aspects that a lot of artists are never privy to. And I think takes their career a little bit longer to take off, because you have to learn how to be a professional no matter what you're doing. And apart from that, just the hustle of consulting, knowing that I can put in long hours if I need to. Recently I flew up, and it was like 2-day notice, fly up to San Francisco, get up there, 7 a.m. I have to be on the job site, the test shoot. I had to be there at 7 a.m. On the site. Had I not done consulting, and had I not already known how to go through an airport, how to get to a hotel, how to sort of get all of that stuff situated. And then the next day, it's a 5 a.m. call time. And then we're leaving straight from the airport. So I have to get up in the morning, I have to pack, I have to leave my suitcase at the lobby, go back, like all of the logistical stuff that I think would give people anxiety. I already kind of have down on the back of my mind. And so I don't have to worry about that stuff. I can just sort of focus on performing, because those skill sets were already hardwired into me. So I actually see that beneficial no matter what you're going to do later on.
You kind of become just a little bit more efficient at life, right?
You have to. And also when you learn how to pack a week or two of your life into a carry-on suitcase, there's nothing you can't do.
Oh, amen to that. Oh my gosh, I could not agree more.
We'll be right back after this quick message. Maximize your chances of landing a top 10 consulting offer by joining Black Belt, Management Consultant's premium case prep program. In Black Belt, you receive one-on-one mentorship and prep support from a former McKinsey, Bain, or BCG consultant like the one you're hearing from today. Your coach will develop a personalized plan for you and guide you through drill-based coaching sessions. Black Belt also includes expert resume and cover letter edits, because case prep is only so good if you don't get the interview. 80% of Black Belts land offers, which is why it's the world's most effective consulting prep program. If you're ready to quit wasting time in your prep process, join today. Learn more and register at the link in this episode's show notes. Now, let's get back to the show.
Well, let's dive into a little bit more about your coaching at Management Consulted. Of course, you now work with clients across all firms or prospective clients who are preparing for interviews. What's the process that you run your consulting interview clients through?
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter, because we get the gamut from somebody who is, buying the black belt, has a couple months to prepare, wants to be guided through, given a step-by-step, to people who have already done 50, 60 interviews, and they just want, final opinions on let's run and gun through, to I've never run a case interview. My interview is tomorrow. What can we do? So you get the whole gamut of it here. And so it does kind of work on a client by client basis. And, we are able to work with you no matter where you're at. It's always first that question of, so where are you? How much do you understand about the case interview? Because this is so abstract. I mean, I was a business economics major. I never learned about case interviews. I've done a ton of interviews in my life, and I've never learned about case interviews until consulting came along. So I don't think that it's really like this skill that, is taught, or a class that you can, maybe there's a class you can take or something in college, but wasn't available to me. So how much do you know? It's this abstract thing. You've never interviewed like this before. How do we work through that cadence? And so if you already know that, we will just, let's pretend this candidate has already done the pre-work. They've read a book or two. They've watched a couple videos, or they've done our general videos on Management Consulted. I'll ask them, where is the area of feedback that you feel like you're weakest at? Because that's exactly what I want to work. I want to work the area that you feel least confident in, or you've been receiving the feedback to work, because that's the stuff that you should be working with the coach, not to be presented in the best light, but where can we help you the most? So we'll start the case. I typically like to do, unless this is the day before the interview, typically if it's a normal coaching session, we'll run through the prompt, the questions, you'll present your framework, I'll time it, and then we'll stop. At that point, I like to ask my candidates how they feel, because I found that a lot of people actually have a pretty good gauge at where they're at. That also helps with self-guided practice beyond the coach, right? If I ask you how you feel and I can validate that the way you felt is exactly the things that you need to work on. It's always good to build that internal gauge. So I'll ask you how you feel, what you feel like was going well, what do you feel like, where maybe there was a misstep. And then we'll run through the beginning, whatever went wrong. So then we'll kind of go through this first piece. I think that piece is very pivotal up until the framework, because really that is the piece that I think a lot of people struggle with. So we'll really spend time making sure that you're really good with your framework. The questions that we ask up front in the prompt, are they helping you set up for the best, most specific, customized framework possible? How do we ask the right questions, et cetera? Fully know what's going on. So we'll work through that. And then it's kind of a start and stop process. If you're just kind of running through it, I'm not going to stop you. But I do like to sort of walk through the pieces, tell you what's going well, what's, maybe how we can do things differently. Since the case interview is an interesting song and dance in a lot of ways. And so there's a certain cadence to how we do things. We say things out loud. When you see a graph, you're not really used to reading a graph out loud, but they're like, what do you mean, can you read a graph? It's like, can you literally read a graph? And which sounds, when I first heard it, I was like, really? But that's sort of what they want. So they want to understand how your mind works. And the only way they can understand how your mind works is if you're speaking out loud. So how do we communicate our thoughts out loud? How do we get comfortable communicating our thoughts out loud? Because that's also something that people aren't comfortable with, because they're too afraid of giving that perfect polished answer at every point of the process versus walking me through how you got to that answer. And that's really what they're looking for. So sometimes it's breaking that habit, making sure that they are communicating that. And so, yeah, it's just a start and stop process. We'll get to the end. You'll give your recommendation. If there's any piece where, I need to chime in and give an example of how I would do it, I do that. But that's how I would say the typical case interview prep session would look. And of course, I'll send you the case and all of that stuff. And, you get to run through it again.
Love it. Love it. But every coach has their little pieces that they like to focus on. So it's great to hear what some of those were for you. And some of those consistent themes about, confidence, presence, communication, gravitas. Really key. What are some of the key things that and maybe you want to go in that direction, or maybe you want to go in a different direction. But in terms of the qualities that you're hoping to build in your clients, the ones that are going to make them successful in this process, what are some things that come to mind?
I would say qualities is I think the most important is confidence. Confidence in your interview process itself, in the way you speak, the way you deliver, how you move through the case. And I think that sort of dives into everything else when I think about like ease. This shouldn't feel like it's really difficult or stressful, because if it's just like kind of like, all right, let's do the case. All right, that's and that's kind of how, I think my interviews went. They're like, should we do the case? Yeah, let's do the case. And so you just walk into it and it's not the big deal, right? It's like, I do this on the daily. I'm good with it. So I like to build that. I've given a lot of clients, like I treat this like an Olympic sport. I'll be honest with you. Like I will say, okay, so what is your routine? Your interview is next Friday. Starting a week before, if you know when your interview is, the minute you know the day your interview is, I want you, for example, 11 a.m. What is your morning routine? I want you to run that morning routine every single day until your interview, and clock how you feel, right? Because some people will, it's just the day before that they're going to get a good night's rest and they're going to wake up early and they're going to get to work. And it's just like, it's not the day before type of thing. It's at least spend a week sort of getting up at a certain time, seeing how your body feels, let it adjust to it. If you work out, do you have more energy? Are you going to crash before your interview? Maybe you have, less of a workout. Is your shower routine down? Do you know exactly what you're going to wear? Can you sit down 20 minutes before your interview? Calm down, be ready, look over your stuff, look over your resume, maybe a couple frameworks if you need to, but don't stress too much so that when you walk into the interview, you're already not at a high anxiety level. Because if you're, interviews are fight or flight for us. But when you hit that, it's like your frontal cortex turns off, you go back into caveman brain, and 7 times 5 is now the hardest problem in the world to you because you've kind of lost it. So how do we keep you calm and ready for the interview? And so that's not only the prep, but it's also the stuff that we do before. I've made people write affirmations. Because if people talk badly about themselves, or I've heard a lot of like, oh, this is not my background, I've never done this before. A lot from people who don't come from business backgrounds, they do tend to feel less comfortable. But if you walk in with that attitude, it's going to come in through your energy. So how do we shift that mindset to, I do bring something unique to the table? And that's something that I personally felt because I didn't have the banking or consulting background before I walked into my interview. So it definitely comes from a place of, I understand how that feels, but I know I bring something unique to the table. So can I focus on what I bring to the table? And I don't know if I answered this question, but I feel like that's the quality that I want most out of people, is that confidence, knowing the value they bring to the table, how to work through anxiety. Because I would say, no matter what happens in your interview, no matter if you choose to go into consulting or turn down the offer after you get it and do something else, I think that learning how to, do affirmations, believe in yourself, building this mindset of like, I'm going to prepare for this, and I'm going to leave little margins of error, right? If I have habits, rituals, and routines built in place, the margin of error gets smaller. Even if I have an off day, I know exactly what I'm going to do in order to have the best off day possible. Because you never know how you're going to wake up. That's stuff you can't control. Whatever we can control, how do we make sure? And I think those are skill sets that no matter if you choose to do this, if you don't do this, whatever happens, you can walk away and know that that is something of value that you're always going to take away.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Yeah. And I think even more than knowledge of business acumen, like I think everything that you've just spoken through is the biggest hurdle to most people in this process. And so having somebody like you coaching and cheering for them, being in their corner, guiding them along every step of the way. I'm sure that there are a ton of you listening right now who are excited and interested to work with Nare. So Nare, tell us, how can people, work with you? What do they do?
Yeah. So I am not sure of the exact clicks you have to take, but definitely go to managementconsulted.com. I think we click on interview prep and then work with the coach, and I should be listed there. My calendar is up to date, and I like to keep flexibility. So I like to keep my calendar up to date. If there's a time that works for you, just, pop into that time slot and we can talk soon.
Fantastic. And wouldn't you want to get to know Nare a little bit better before she becomes like super famous? I'm so excited for you and everything.
Thank you.
Coming around the corner.
Thank you.
Oh, it's thrilling.
Thank you.
Nare, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time to let everybody else get to know you a little bit better and hear your perspective on this process.
Yeah, thank you. And I appreciate you guys doing this interview process, because I think, if you have an interview scheduled, you don't even know the process, or you're afraid of what you're getting yourself into, hopefully this gives people a little bit more ease into walking in and knowing what you're going to walk into, who you're walking in with. We're not scary people. We're normal people just like you, and we're just here to help.
Thanks so much, Nare.
Yeah.
Welcome to After Office Hours, the segment of the show where we're answering your questions. I'm excited today to have Stephanie Knight with me. Stephanie, thanks for joining. Yeah, looking forward to this question. So today we've got a question from Maggie, who is an undergrad at Georgia Tech, and she's asking about the BCG online case. So here's the question. I have a round one BCG interview for a summer 2023 internship in May. The first round consists of a fit interview and an online case. Can you talk about how to succeed in an online case and how to prepare? Stephanie, I'll let you take it away.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for this question. It speaks to the digital assessment at BCG in terms of an online case, but also, while we're at it, should probably speak also to the fact it's not the only digital assessment that exists in terms of the BCG recruitment process. The first thing that you've probably already completed were those Pymetrics games, right? The set of kind of cognitive and behavioral assessments that really you're not going to prepare for per se. You just need to make sure that you are being truthful and authentic to speaking to who you really are, and that you've carved out time and space to be able to take that in an environment which you can focus. You can focus in terms of the time that it's going to take. That still is a timed assessment. You can focus and not have distractions around you, but it's not a skills-based test. However, as a part of, your question, you're alluding to an online case or a chatbot type case that could exist as a part of the first round of your recruitment, now that you have received an actual offer to interview. And that's a little bit different. Now we actually start to get into testing skills, testing your thought process as you engage with this digital case, this online case, this chatbot case. And so, when you think about this kind of Casey online case, the BCG chatbot case, we're actually one of the first in the market to bring you an opportunity to practice these chatbot cases. I'm sure we'll put a link in the show notes to our offering here. We have developed a set of chatbot cases to be able to give you an opportunity to practice here. We also have a sample chatbot case that you could run through as well. And these are going to test the same thought components as the broader case interview. So the practice in terms of the basic skills and business acumen that you need to succeed in this is no different than the case interview, although it will feel different. It will feel more complex or complicated in the moment because the interaction and engagement is different, being a digital online assessment. It'll feel different because it's timed, and you may see that timer running down on the screen as you go through these questions. But there will still likely be a component to which you need to structure the problem or, give your input in order to kind of create a framework for the overall problem. There will still likely be a math component or components where you have to break down the problem and answer a math question or questions. And then there'll be a qualitative, creative brainstorming type component where you need to generate a lot of different answers and try and do that in a structured way. And then finally, with most of these online cases, there is the opportunity for you to, not the opportunity, there's the requirement rather, for you to tape and record you giving the final recommendation, delivering a succinct summary and recommendation to the client as you finish out this online case. And so just really tactically, practically speaking, you should know what is likely coming in each of this in terms of the different component parts. Your general case interview preparation should prepare you as well for the online case. And then also tactically and pragmatically thinking about, okay, if part of this is going to be actually recording what I look like and how I'm delivering on the screen, then are you still wearing professional attire? Are you framed up well in the screen? Do you have a non-distracting background? All of these other kind of virtual presentation and Zoom best practices that you can think about in terms of delivering a good online case. So really recommend, BCG itself on their website, they've got some some language there, some pointers, some examples and demos of what that looks like. And then would really recommend that you look at our chatbot cases as well to prepare.
Amazing. Thanks, Stephanie. And we'll make sure to link to both the sample chatbot case that we have, as well as the package that you can purchase in the show notes below. So Maggie, we really appreciate you sending in your question. And folks, we'd love to get your questions as well. So you can write us podcast@managementconsultant.com. Also, we'd love to hear your voice. So pull out your phone, pull out the voice recorder app there, and just record a quick message with your question, with your name, where you're calling in from, and your question. And we'd love to answer it live here on Strategy Simplified. So thanks again, Stephanie. And folks, we'll see you again next Friday.
Want to work directly with Nare? If you want to catch her, before she's too busy and famous for any of us, well, then make sure you check out her current coaching calendar in the link below. All of our coaches are ex-McKinsey, Bain, or BCG consultants and interviewers. They've been extensively vetted and they only coach with us here at MC. They love working with prospective candidates to mock through full interviews or drill in the areas in which you're weak. You can find a link in the show notes or check out managementconsulted.com. Also, do you have a question that we could answer here on the podcast about how to break into the industry, how to get the interview, anything related to starting the job or being in the field? If so, we'd love to answer it. Email your question to us at podcast@managementconsulted.com. Or better yet, send us a voice note. Open the voice recorder app on your phone and record yourself. I'd love to hear you asking the question. Either way, make sure to include your name, location, and question, and send it to us, podcast@managementconsulted.com. We'll see you next time.